right, welcome back, everybody. Now it's time for our grassroots citizen panel. And join me in studio, as he did in a previous segment, is Brad Dacus, president, founder of the Pacific Justice Institute. Brad, good to have you held over for this segment.
Great to be on the program. Also
in studio with us is Misty Ann Tinkin. She's listed as a conservative Republican activist. Now, Misty, from time to time, we do human interest stories.
Right.
And several weeks ago, you were the subject of one of our human interest stories. Many of our viewers may not have seen it since we get more and more viewers every day. Take 30 seconds. Tell us about quickly about your background.
That's fine. I came from a background where I had drug parents. They were drug dealers on the streets, and there were times where we lived homeless, and I was abused for over 12 years, and then my grandparents spent 30 grand in court fees to get custody of me, and so here I am today.
And you lived homeless on the streets as a child?
Yes. I lived in about 3 or 4 homeless shelters.
And here you are today, a productive citizen of America and a conservative.
Yep.
Anything about that experience that led you to conservatism?
Yeah, I just saw the misuse of the government, you know, giving my mom money and for her to continue her bad habits, and I just realized, you know, at a young age that wasn't something I wanted to believe in. So. All
right. Well, it's a great story. I think all our viewers should hear about. All right. Also joining us in the studio is Melory Tsipouria. Did I pronounce that correctly, Melory?
Yes.
Tsipouria. He is president of the U.S.-Georgian Friendship Association.
Correct.
Not in Atlanta, Georgia. And you know something I want to bring up, Melory. Yes. You last time on the show, you in a quick comment at the end of the show, you said, "I just want to let you know that Putin is losing his support at home. It's declining."
Right.
And we're seeing more news coming out that those activists, pro-Russian activists in Ukraine, are calling on him to step up and do more. Is he still on a decline in your opinion?
Yes, but I do not want to overstate that. And you probably seen the reports where Ukrainian forces are retaking those eastern the regions of Ukraine. But it's not over by a long shot.
Not over. No.
And the problem is still Western demand is not to give up Crimea, for Russia to give up Crimea back to Ukraine. So if Putin is making some kind of a deal and de-escalating, but to keep the Crimea, that would be a great mistake for the West to allow.
Is he on decline?
Definitely, he's on decline, yes.
All right. Okay. Speaking of decline, how about the IRS? Lois Lerner. Let's take a look at this video with Lois Lerner.
So I'm going to show you 3 emails out of 15,000 that you dumped on us on July 3rd. Let's go first to this one. This is to Lois Lerner to Maria Hook. I had a question today about OCS, what the chairman was asking you about earlier. I was cautioning folks about email and how we have had several occasions where Congress has asked for emails and there's been an electronic search for responsive emails. So we need to be cautious about what we say in emails because Congress might get a hold of them. American people might actually find out what the IRS is doing.
This is remarkable. We've seen hard drive crashes. We've seen email not printed. Now we find a printed email by Lois Lerner that says we need to be cautious about what we say in email. Brad Dacus, your reaction to this?
This is actually very significant because up until now we've been looking at objective things. You know, the emails we can't retrieve, that they crashed. But this is direct evidence as to her mens rea, if you will, her mental mindset, her perspective, which is we do not want what we are saying to be made available to others. That is not just a smoking gun. That is something that's very, very important for proving the case that this was a deliberate act to defraud the American people of what they were doing. As an attorney, does this go anywhere legally in terms of this investigation? Oh, yeah. I think it will be very, very helpful. And in the end, I think that, you know, she's got the Fifth Amendment. But in the end, I think that this will be very helpful to, not with regard to the investigation, but potential prosecution down the line. Ms. Deanne, less than 30 seconds here. You are active in Republican politics in Southern California. Do you believe that with this latest revelation, it becomes an issue with voters in November?
Oh, absolutely. People are going to go, we can't trust our own government. You know, they're going after us. Why would why would you trust anyone from the Democratic Party when they're supporting and hiding the facts from them? And then you get this document come out, and it proves that, okay, the Republicans were right all along, you know, especially Darrell Issa. And who are you going to trust? The party, the side that is trying to, you know, defend the Americans, or the side that's trying to hide evidence?
We are in that phase between now and November where both parties are trying to fire up the base and fundraise off of it, and this is one of those issues which does that just for the Republicans as well. We'll hold that comment until the other side of the break. Melory Tsipouria, we'll catch that right after this. I'm Rick Amato. You're watching the Rick Amato Show on One America News. Stay with me. We're back right after this. Welcome back, everybody. We're in our grassroots citizen panel. Now, before the break, we were talking about the fact that Lois Lerner has indeed printed some email showing that she's told other IRS employees, let's be really careful about what we write in our email. Melory Tsipouria of the U.S.-Georgia Friendship Association, you wanted to comment on that.
Yes, to me, it's not a partisan issue. It's not a Democratic or Republican. We should be able to trust our elected and appointed officials. And I mentioned on a last appearance, I think in this case, it's special prosecutor is warranted to get to the bottom of it. Do you think that with addition of this email?
Brad, as an attorney, do you think they'll have a special prosecutor? I agree with you.
Oh, yeah. I do. I think it's going to unravel. And, you know, Watergate wasn't an overnight event. It took a lot of time and process, and I think that in the end, this is going to have a most unfortunate outcome for the American people and our trust in government.
All right, switching gears here. Let's go to the border. Let's go to Texas. President Obama is telling the media that Rick Perry advised him to go around Congress and take action on his own on the immigration issue. Let's take a look at Rick Perry, however, criticizing President Obama.
If the President of the United States is really serious about securing that border, we can show him how to do that. But I haven't even had a phone call from this president. If he doesn't go to the border, I think it's a real reflection of his lack of concern about what's really going on there.
By the way, before I get your comment, let's throw back to 2008, I believe it was, President Obama criticizing George Bush.
When people looked up from the rooftops, for too long they saw an empty sky. When the winds blew and the floodwaters came, we learned that for all of our wealth and our power, something wasn't right with America. We can talk about what happened for a few days in 2005, and we should. We can talk about levees that couldn't hold, about a FEMA that seemed not just incompetent, but paralyzed and powerless, about a president who only saw the people from the window of an airplane instead of down here on the ground trying to provide comfort and aid. We can talk about a trust that was broken. The promise that our government will be prepared, will protect us, and will respond in a catastrophe.
So there is President, then Barack Obama, criticizing George Bush for not visiting Katrina. You know, the same criticism holds here. He hasn't visited the border.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brad.
He just wrote a fantastic script for a speech for the next Republican convention. I salute him for writing it. Unfortunately, it was not intended for that. And I think that it's obviously coming back to bite him. The buck stops with him. He has a responsibility to protect our borders. And I know that, I know if Rick Perry in any way implied that he should take action, it was to protect our borders, which this president consistently has refused to do, much to the potential peril not only of Americans, but also to those who are risking their lives through drug lords and others to come across the border in the first place.
Ms. Deanne Tinkin, what's your take on President Obama saying Rick Perry told him to go around Congress? We haven't seen any reaction from Rick Perry responding to that quite yet.
Well, I have met Rick Perry multiple times, and that doesn't seem like anything that he would actually say. So unless I hear from Rick Perry's mouth verbally, I'm just going to say that Obama's just making things up to make himself look even better, because he knows he's in a pickle with this immigration issue, and he's trying to get out of it.
Melory, you know, this president has been charged, and I'm one of those folks who charge him as the talker-in-chief, not the doer-in-chief.
Right.
This sounds like more talk than doing.
Speaking of that, and first of all, the Rick Perry, obviously we have to hear from him, and you know, then we can draw our own conclusions. But as an immigrant who is coming from country of Georgia, as an immigrant who lived in Mexico for 11 years, my wife is from Mexico. I'm very much familiar with the issues that we are facing. So we got to stop talking and do something about it, meaning to pass meaningful reform that could take care of those kind of problems once and for all.
All right. We're out of time. I want to thank Brad Dacus, the Pacific Justice Institute, Misty Ann Tinkin, and Melory Tsipouria, President, founder of U.S.-Georgia Friendship Association. Thanks for being part of our grassroots citizen panel. And I want to thank you, our viewers, for watching. We're right back at you again tomorrow night, same time, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific.